Greetings! It is I, Tentisner, your Lord Emperor, here at the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. I hope everybody is having a fine day, a great, Saturday if you're joining me live on Twitch. I usually do these World of Darkness videos on Saturdays, or if you're joining me on YouTube days later. I hope you're having a good day there. My question for the day, whether you're joining me live or later on, after this video is up on YouTube, have you played an Akashic Brotherhood? Because that's what we're talking about today. I've talked about a lot of the major factions within Mage The Ascension, and I wanted to start talking about the individual groups. Because as much as the factions do scream and tell you a lot about the world as itself, there are smaller individual groups, or in this case, a relatively large individual group, that define a lot. This is the first of, hopefully all the Council of Nine Mystic Traditions that I'm going to be talking about, the Akashic Brotherhood. So, why don't we dive into it, and I can talk to you about where my kind of sources are, where I go about with these things, and talk about them. I do, as I always say, like to use the White Wolf Wikipedia as a good outline, and then I usually supplement that with a number of books. The books that I have referenced today, to get little bits of extra information and stuff that I can recommend if you want to dive deeper, which is a pretty deep dive. But there is plenty of other stuff that can be found. And I apologize that not all these books have really great images about them. There's the Mage The Ascension 20th Anniversary book. It actually does have a pretty good outline of all the 9 Mystic Traditions. I really do enjoy the stuff that they put there. It gives a good view of a lot of things. And I wouldn't say simplified tone, but your best bet for getting the basics of it, which I hopefully will review here, is there. Will it be as terse as me? I probably add a little extra information, honestly, so it's more of the something. But it's a great place to start. And there are a lot of the mechanics will be there. Now, these are a lot smaller pictures, because I was relying on online pictures that I can find for these. But this is the Tradition book, Akashic Brotherhood. So the Tradition books, always a great place. Pretty big, lots of information. I always recommend them. But there's also 2 other books that do have a little bit of information about them. Dragons of the East, again, very small picture here, and the Ascension book, which is their kind of apocalyptic book. During that time period, we had the Time of Judgment books, the Apocalypse books, all those End of the World books, in the time of World of Darkness, before they refreshed World of Darkness and kept it going. It's a complex mess. We'll leave it at that. I've talked, I think, a little bit about it overall, but we'll leave it at that. So, again, this is the Akashic Brotherhood. This is the symbol that they use. They're a member of the Council of Nine Mystic Traditions. They call it the Seat of Mind. Their Primus, during the Renaissance era, was Wu Jin. During the Old Council, because there was a big shake-up and changed things, it was, I'm going to probably butcher these, because these are, honestly, unfortunately, I'm bad at pronouncing things, so I'm warning people now. If I mispronounce something, not trying to, I am not really very good at English, let alone other languages. That's the big warning here now. I'm going to try to say this properly. Yem Yong Sunim from the Old Council, and Nu Ying on the New Horizons Council. So the new version of the Council that's kind of come about after the Avatar story. Anyway, Akashic Brotherhood, also known as the Akashiana Sangha, the Order of the Vehicle of Akasha, or the Akashiana, the masters of mind, body, and spirit, pursuing the arts of personal discipline. Very martial artsy, and I'll explain that that's a generalization that doesn't really work, but if at first glance it feels that way, yeah, it does feel that way. But again, it's a generalization from first feelings that really doesn't dive well into what they truly are. They believe that this combination of mind, body, and spirit are kind of the whole person in a way. It's like also they believe that people are part of the universe. So it's sort of like every aspect of you is you, and in the same place you are part of the universe. Conflict is illusion, and the same could be said for identity, dispute, and when mind and body harmonize, the soul follows them. They hone their bodies, they make their beings a temple for the mind, that ultimately brings them comprehension of their spirit. They use very simple tools for this: exercise, meditation, practice, study. They refine a simple person into someone that is a master of knowledge and spirit, in a way. So, to define them, we really have to talk about their paragraph. I butcher this word. Paradigm. See, I'm already trying to butcher a word. The Akashic one is built on several notations that they share with the Chianta of the Middle Kingdom. The Akashiyana consider that their magic doesn't come from true will, but from eternal truths that manifest as side effects of their way of enlightenment. Basically, it's not like this will of the universe, it's the truths that they are finding on their path of enlightenment. They do often fall much less into a lot of hubristic traps that value their own magical prowess more than any of the other groups, too. So it's sort of like, magic is an important part of their existence, but it isn't the thing that defines them in a lot of ways, which it's one of those things a lot of the other groups out there, well, they focus on that magic a lot more and lose sight of some of the other stuff. So their dharma is the law of transcending the enemy. It's a short form of the Dar La Hardama, which is a hybridized term derived from Tibetan and Sanskrit, meaning it is an active yang principle of the Akashic philosophy. We're going deep here for a little bit, that's going to hurt my brain a little bit, but I'm trying my best here. Returning to simplicity is kind of the heart of their beliefs, though. As a human, you clutter your lives with a lot of unnecessary extraneous objects, desires, and you can understand the natural harmony of the universe by trying to grasp it, own it, or... okay, can you understand that harmony of the universe by trying to grasp it, own it, or control it? The natural place for every individual, the role of the Dharma, is apparently not to be blinded by the illusions of greed, desire, and power. The exercises of living give a soul a chance to experience the universe in manifold forms, and so each individual should take the opportunity to gain insight and develop a harmony with the all. Understand yourself, understand your body, understand your mind, understand your soul, understand the universe. You are part of the universe. It's a lot of that kind of thing. Each step in life is part of that greater wheel of Dharma until you release yourself from the chains that you forge with your own beliefs and desires. You continue to take steps to develop yourself over your existence. Being a practitioner of Dharma means they act with the best moral intentions, never using force against force. The ideal Akashic practice has no enemies, never preventing a foe from acting. Aggression earns karmic penalty, causing harm to them. Every problem should have an efficient, ethical answer, provided you act without selfishness and let you become one with your task. So that's kind of the basic idea here. You also have the Akasha Karma, which is the impression of all beings make up the fabric of the tapestry with their actions. It's something tangible to mages like the Akashiyana. They're called the Akashic Records by other will workers. It's the passive yin principle of the Akashic philosophy, similar to Taoist Wu Wei. The Akashiyana know how to discern the impressions through thought and actions through the tapestry. In other words, the principle that guides the tapestry is as a riverbed guides a river. The Akashic record can be sensed by one who empties their own selves from egotism, shares their thoughts with others, and understanding how to control and redirect forces around them. It's shown as intuition, sudden knowledge, or even visions in past lives. And then you have the Siam Chiam, which is another aspect of this entire thing here. We're breaking it down here. By those following the Dharma, an Akashic can use the power of the All in accord with the forces that fill the world around the brother. They align themselves with one of three ministers of Xianqi, the triple struggle, the dragon, the phoenix, or the tiger representing entropy, stasis, and dynamicism. Dynamicism. God. In the metaphysical trinity. But with becoming more vehicles like an Effendi and their patrons, or the Hengeyokai. These are personifications of the mystical trinity that balance out their tendencies to reject these forces. They become empty vessels to manifest powers of the ministers, but moderating it with their own inner nature. So it's sort of like they are accepting the energies of the universe in a way. Look, I'm not great at understanding this kind of stuff, so I'm going to try to interpret it the best way I understand it as someone that's not great at it. But, like, they're not going to extremes and using their own beings to control it because other beings kind of go to those extremes. The Lihai believe that fourth minister, Lung Ta, the wind horse, who balances the other three. Or the Liha believe in the fourth minister, Lung Ta. Representing the power of Dharma and the world itself, and even in the middle of chaos and order, the point is to find enlightenment, even with the flaws of creation. Giving a sense that Lihai quest to prevent the Sangha being isolated in modern world. Whew! So let's talk Avatar, now that we got over that kind of thing. Look, if you were a little confused by that entire part here, don't mind. I'm also, like, I understand the basics of it, but again, like, this is it's a very heavy philosophy kind of thing. So, when you get into a lot of these things with the paradigm of a lot of mages, it tends to get a lot of philosophical. So, we gotta get the philosophical deepest parts done first, and we can talk about stuff that's a little less deep, and so that's where we're kind of hitting now, for now. So Avatar. We're now talking about something's easier. So the Akashics refer to Avatar as the body Sita, the heart of enlightenment. They don't believe it's an indestructible soul, a god, a clump of quintessence, but a concept, a feeling of enlightenment that speaks to a mage. A spark of an Akasha. A primal wisdom. It has many names. Everyone has one of them. It's not something to be caused by blood or luck. But usually it's drowned out by banality, and easy answers to samsara. The body Sita marks itself with the masks of metaphysical trinity to teach the Dharma and lead the mage to balance. So, that's more understandable. We're working on it. Consensus. Okay. To the ascetics, it's called the samsara, the consensus of illusion. The whole concept is a lot more vast to them, as samsara is the attitude of the world. To believe that one is something special and immune to the forces around him, rejecting the truth of the wheel of ages and impermanence. It is needed to live, as everyone needs a fixed conception of the universe to exist, but the power of illusion is strengthened by the sleeper's way of life. The Akashiana were vital to the understanding of the metaphysics of magic, as understood by the traditions. They're kind of inspired by Buddhist philosophy. They posited a subjective reality, samsara, while the Order of Hermes insisted that the four Greek elements and Platonic forms were the base nature of the universe. So see, consensus is, of course, if you're a little bit unaware, that's the general universe, it's the understanding, it's why if you go against consensus, you get, that's where you're kind of getting into paradox and stuff like that. It's the universe as a whole, and when it fights against the magic and stuff like that, it's a little complex, but I think I've talked about it in previous videos. Just, this is their version of what they understand it to be. Now, Ascension, part of things with mages, Mage The Ascension. So, Satchitana, unity with the Tao, Nirvana, Ascension. It's got a lot of names, but the Brotherhood prefer to call it Samadhi, a state of where the being itself is undifferentiated. It's the true face of the Bodhisattva, as shown along with the true wisdom of the Akasha, breaking the chains of delusion. There are many stories about the Akasha, ascended beings who stand as masters of the wheel. Now, they do have some tools and practices we can talk about, and we'll finally finish up this section, which is a little of a chatty one, because it is defining their existence and how they work, and a lot of things like that, which is honestly important to do. So, the soul of the ascetic lies in the ascetic records, where it lies a collection of all experience of the Akashic Brotherhood across history. Akashic, cross. I keep trying to say ascetic, it's cross. Even with physical pages and ink, the record itself exists on all levels of reality, material and spiritual at the same time. The Akashic records are not supposed to be read. It serves as an inspiration, gives understanding of past knowledge, and presents its information so one looking for it would never forget, using riddles and loans that cannot be understood by non-experts. So it's sort of like this mystical records that's a combination of the souls of, it's an odd metaphysical, mystical record book that you don't actually read, but understand, and it processes information. Yes. The Akashic Brotherhood is a wide range of folk-kind tools that they use. Asceticism, abstinence, meditation, breathing, yogic or Taoist reverse diaphragm breathing, bodywork, calligraphy, poetry, chanting, singing, crafting, eye contact, herbalism, kata, dancing, mandalas, mudras, pilgrimages, weapons. They use this large variety of things that are kind of your Buddhist, martial arts. Again, I just had a little bit about martial arts because there is some weapons and kind of things in there. And some things about that, the training aspect of it, discipline aspect of it. But a lot of the Buddhism and stuff too. There's a lot of stuff that is used to center oneself into oneself. They break the barrier between their minds and the tapestry of these practices, and by emptying their own minds via meditation, they open themselves up to the Akasha Karma, letting them commune with the records, expanding their own mind, even beyond to all minds and actions. Though Do is the primary structure of Akashic magic, many brothers add other practices to focus their energies. Like Do, these practices are often Asian in origin. Feng Shui, meditation, calligraphy are excellent ways to direct Qi, but all are designed to unify and direct motion and thought towards a goal. Spiritual and magical worlds aren't far removed from the physical world. The balanced and light man can, in time, access all layers of the universe. So, Do, we should mention that. It's a form of specialized meditative martial arts. Hey, martial arts, I talked about that. There is something here to that. Developed by the Akashic Brotherhood. Mastery over Do is a way to enlightenment and even to ascension. It is a main tool for practicing magic for them. And it goes beyond combat applications to philosophy, ethics, and healing arts. The record is the soul of tradition. The body and mind are the Do. So, we talked about the records. It's the soul. But this is the body and mind, the trinity of your existence. Remember, that's an important part of this entire thing that you have to kind of... It literally means the web. It's the art to train the body to achieve a peaceful mind. It's the essence of all martial arts and other earthly arts kind of driven together in one spot. And it gives any brothers, extreme precision to many fields. And it's a lot more than a fighting style, as I said. You're tuning your body to the harmony of nature's natural cycles. In practice, it's like balancing nutrition, exercise, sleep, thought, creation, destruction. It kind of guides a lot of parts of your existence as a whole. You harmonize with the natural flow of life. You ignore artificial constructs of a world filled and a lot of stuff that's superfluous. And this invades a lot of attitude towards magic. The right thinking, speech, understanding, the right action, the right body, the right living, all are important parts of achieving your magic. The tradition overall studies the mind as its primary sphere, so this entire thing is, diving deep into the mind. It's the idea that without the normal blocks in place, nothing else can be aligned in the mage, or her opponent is hampered by what she would do with no body. So sort of like you remove the hampering that you don't have to worry about, what you would do without a body. So all aspects thus study go in some matter, though it may be difficult martial arts, internal questing, quiet meditation, whatever version of it. If you want to look more into Do, the tradition book Akashic Brotherhood, which I suggested earlier, or the World of Darkness combat book, will give you some more information on the more martial arts side of that. But I wanted to give you a little bit about it because it is an important part here. And let's talk about the history of them, because they do actually have a very complex history that you should really head. I don't know if they're the tradition, because again, I can't remember off the top of my head until I prepare these episodes. It has the longest history, but they do have a very long history to talk about. So, the philosophical and historic roots of the Brotherhood lie in the beginning times with the Meru Ai, the inhabitants of Mount Meru, in the Garuda Valley, living in harmony. They do claim to be the oldest magical society, like a lot of them, but, even amongst them, they have their own distinct rights. The Akashics are more of a alliance of convenience, as they are the ones that keep secrets and can be even be from before the First Age. So it's kind of an idea that they kind of appear as this unified group, but it might be that their origins are in similar-minded, smaller groups and magical societies that kind of got together to form this originally. In the last world, they claimed an entire people performed a mass ascension. When the world was destroyed, they were preserved at the summit of Meru, the World Mountain, and vague memories of this perfect village were the basis of legends of Shangri-La and Shambhala. Again, this is the kind of mythical story to them. The Meru Ai learned the way of harmonious living from the grand spirits, Dragon, Tiger, and Phoenix, and they disciplined their bodies and minds through a balance of movement and stillness. But the earth turned, more people came to live near the all fractured, became dissonant. In time of need, the Meru Ai shaped Do into a mighty war arts, as they had but one law: the barbaric outsiders would be killed if they tried to enter the village from the outside world. But one day, an expedition appeared. A man who had left the valley years before came back, and he spoke during 3 consecutive days. The first days he said they were not supposed to separate themselves out from the world, and if they refused to leave the valley, they would end up perishing from forces outside their knowledge. The next second day, he showed them the true nature of reality, an illusion created by humanity's own desires, hatred, and greed. The third day, he taught them the way to know reality as it is, and after that, he sacrificed himself with a bronze knife, cutting himself to pieces to show the Meru Ai that death is only an illusion, and that everyone is one with the wheel, showing the nature of Akasha Karma. He was the first Akasha, the first to attain the state of the same name. Whew. That's a lot of, legend stuff, but very interesting. So the corrupted Wan Zi hoarded Shi, and the Hankaoke slaughtered the innocent, and even the enlightened became enamored with the 5 elements. Some worshipped Shen, others talked to the Jade Mother or Lord of Heaven, who had secrets worth ripping from the stars. The pleasures of earth made them fear liberation, and they began to talk of eternal souls that could be sustained that could sustain pleasure forever. Blindness and greed took them, and they forgot how to summon the fire to grow rice. Once Meru disappeared, the balance between mind and body, motion, stillness was disturbed, and the ones who would become the Akashic Brotherhoods wandered into the world, and some of them retreating into mountains, caves, forests to continue to study the balance through Do. Martial arts and exercise protect the body with rigorous disciplines, chants, prayers to cleanse the mind. Though these brothers of Meru separated, their minds returned to a single shared pool. Their shared rebellion of their Bakan home. So they got to fear death and hell. The children of Meru spread across the lands. They still had connection thanks to this. Alright. So now let's talk about, beyond, we've got mythology down. let's talk ancient history, because honestly, in the world of darkness mythology, it could be true. It's the world of darkness. That stuff could be true. Up to you and your world. A lot of times. So children of Era became hermits, healers, warriors after they encountered death and violence. They mastered war and medicine, turning some of them cold-hearted and dangerous. These are the origins of what will become the Vardrakana, the Kangara, and the Janani. They would soon end up meeting other priests of the wheel, and through that, karma, fate, and luck were one and the same. They were the Handura, the Wahowana, Indran, and Daikites. I probably butchered some of these really badly. I apologize again. Who would later become the founders of Euthanatosis, without the exception of the Andrew. So they met some of the founders of Euthanatosis, and the connection there. At first, both groups concentrated on their shared view of what reality and self was, but once the plagues reached the Indian subcontinent, they ended up battling over differences of doctrines. As plagues struck the Akashic camp, Smoke Tiger killed the Dakottai Ranjit and accused the Dakottais of murdering those destined to oppose the sect, making the start of hostilities. Even if both believe in reincarnation turning the wheel, the Akashics believe that the Handura's belief of human progress through reincarnation, weeding out evil through death, impeding the cycle of dramas as they began to take on the misery of illness in a more direct way. The Brotherhood did not approve of mages who took it into their own hands, the power of life and death, basically. And this is a little bit of powers of life and death. So the brothers warred against the Thanatotic cults in what we call the Himalayan Wars. So let's talk about the Himalayan War. There's more you can hear about the Himalayan War, but I'm just going to go over some basics here that you need to know. And there are some version differences, will I note that they have been changed a little bit about dates and kind of things, refined, but we're going to go over some basics. So it's effectively from 900 BCE to 600 BEC, with someone saying extended to 300 BCE, again, version differences, things like that. The war raged. Even as he first decided with the Daikot Akarya Teva to halt hostilities, the Varjapani Sifu Chan Nig reserved his position or the death of all death mages along the Ganges a year later. So basically, tried to end hostilities, but didn't really work. Ordered basically the opposite, which is, death of all death mages. Weird statement. After carving a mandala in Iraq, he led the Akashi in all directions, striking all the death cults at the same time. At first it was more slaughter than war, but after a while, due to Changming's way to handle the war, Thanatic cults strengthened and united under a single battle known as the Chakravanti. The truth behind this action and the reason behind the Himalayan War would only be revealed thousands of years in the future, and is concealed for the Kashyana's sake. So there was secrets behind this entire thing, this unition and stuff like that. So what was going to be a quick retribution to liberate India from the Thanatix's influence ended degrading into a long, drawn-out war, with soldiers, generals reincarnating just to battle again generation after generation, not letting death stop their animosity, their hatred of each other. God, English sometimes just excuse me. So by the end, the leaders were just children driven by vendettas from dozens of previous lives and demons urging both sides to fight and kill each other, bringing a terrible karma to all those involved in the conflict. This conflict was one of the direct causes of the Night of Fauna, which, just as a quick summary of that one, it was led to the creation of the Al-i-Batin, which are a group of mages in the Arabian mages, and so it was a thing was going on. Big event happened. It's an entity known as Khwaja al-Akbar was summoned and revealed the doctrine of unity, marked the origins of the Al-Batin. So the war did continue for another 100 years after it, and the Chakravanti got the lead when the Consanguinity of Eternal Joy and the Natatapas contained the Akashi. Formally, it only ended when the Grand Harvester Subranamine and the Vendati of Natapis combined their mystical powers into an iron avatar which destroyed the last Akashic holdout in the Ganges in 354 BCE. This war left both traditions scarred, although neither has entirely forgiven the other for the centuries of bloodshed. They've learned from each other, so neither tradition as a whole would jump into a conflict at this point in time. We'll take a drink here. Thank you. So they kind of have this dislike rivalry of each other, but from they basically have learned, like, this battle wasn't great. You know, we learned some lessons, and we're also like, you know, let's just not anymore. You know, I'm like, no. So after the war, the Akashi changed their name to Akashic Yana to emphasize that they were a different vehicle, Yana, to enlightenment than the other sex. So that's where the Akashics became the Akashic Yana because of the war. Alright, let's go to the next war. There's a lot of these. For people that are like, don't want war, they get a lot of these. The Dragon River War. It's a conflict where the Akashics were against the 5 Ghost Emperor. The Akashiana began when a group of Wan Kue, led by Han Li of the Soaring Wing, conquered Mount Kilias, one of the earthly representations of Mount Meru. Which the Wan Kue is a title for Kuai-Jin. Just to let you know. These are Kuai-Jin. So, you know, that's a specialization, another term for them. So they repelled them, initiated hostilities. After that, the demons allied with Yi Han, a corrupted Wu Long, who made 10 sons that brought famine and misery to the people. A Wu Long being basically another group of the Dragon Wizards of China. Easily summarized there. The sons were eventually destroyed by Yi, the excellent archer, a mysterious warrior who founded the demon-hunting order of Shi'i. This war would have a clear, long-standing effect on the Akashics. It was the cause of... Oh boy. I'm going to try this here. I'm going to try this one. This one I look here. Dalao Loshi. Artisan Mage's existence. And the Dalao Loshi, also known as the 5 Elemental Dragons, is technomancers operating in Asia. They were their own organization, but have joined the Order of Reason, aka the Technocratic Union. But they were generally technocratic in nature. This caused their existence. And it began a long enmity that still exists in modern times between the Akashics and the Devil Tigers, and distant respect for the Shi'i. Alright. Following the conflict, there were people that were tired of mages, shamans, and mystics telling them what to do. So during the Chou dynasty, the nobility preferred scholars that would give them answers without having to look to the gods. This group instead used their knowledge of the natural world to provide the people with means to aid themselves. It would later give birth to, of course, the Dalao Loshi, what I mentioned. And the Akashics themselves were tired from the war. You know, they had just gone through 2 major wars. They turned to trying to survive as they could. Do developed hundreds of styles during this times and returned to its prowess. Chou nobles protected the brothers. The legalists would become the origin of the Shi-Ren after learning that compassion is to be tied to power and obligation and affects the tapestry the same as ruling. And many Vajrapani became followers of Mo Su and cleansed themselves from war, fighting for a pacifist state and returning to Lehigh. Shi-Ren being one of the Akashic factions. Other doctrines had a big effect on the Akashics, like the teachings of Laozi, that showed them that harmony in their soul can be the same as one is nature, and Buddha, whose teachings were enough to convince the brothers that still warred with Thanatopics to stop the war at last. So sort of like the organization as a whole had stopped, but like there were groups within both of them still warring it out. That stopped it. Whew. We're not done yet. We haven't even gotten to the Dark Ages. Let's talk about the last major war before the Dark Ages, the Burning Tiger War, which was from 160 BCE to 100 BCE. So 60 years of war once again. So, this was a 3-year battle involving the Akashics, the Wulong, and the Lao Loshi, who would be the Burning Tiger War. And thanks to Fuzi and the first emperor of China, Qin Shi Huang, Fuzi, the founder of the Wulong, as I said, also known as one of the Disparate Alliance, and yes. Whew. Okay. But because of this founder and the first emperor, the Wulong and the Dao Loshi, had enough power and influence to get rid of the Akashics and Chinas, so the hostilities began. The Akashics defeated and banished the devil wizard Tai Si and his demon army, but not before the infernal hordes claimed the lives of many mages on all sizes of the conflict. Still, the victory was enough for the Akashics to survive until the Jung Dynasty without any difficulties. So, boom! Okay. 3 major wars done. It's the ancient history there. They're in this regions of Eastern Asia. Let's get to the Dark Ages, because we're not even done wars during this time. We haven't even gone through all the history. Alright. We have the spiritual philosophies of Buddhism, Taoism, Shintoism, and other religions spreading across Asia, and with it, the Brotherhood. Shaolin monasteries in China housed their members, as did mountain-dwelling hermits of Japan, cloistered priests in Tibet, and the mysterious mystics of India. Many common people adopted Brotherhood's beliefs into everyday. They were not aware of Wu Kang were helping them, for they wanted the group to be strong enough to contest the Wulong. Wu Kang is another group of Chinese mages. So they were assisting. Dharma was a huge impact on the Akashiana, with his doctrine of dhyana, and will become the Qian and Zen Buddhisms. Akashics from all part of China went to learn in the Shaolin temples, and by the end of the 6th century CE, they had members all across the Taoist and Buddhist sanctuaries across China and Tibet. And even the Wan Kuei went to the temple. They were able to live in harmony with the ascetics there. This groundswell of common support became the Brotherhood's bane. Organized nations, harsh rulers, and secret societies resented the Brotherhood's liberating influence on the masses. They didn't have that. And eventually they found themselves embroiled in wars as armies and governments sought to destroy their influence. The Brotherhood's holdings were broken, members scattered, hierarchical orders and caste systems combined with a focus on the imperial turned them against the Brotherhood's self-empowering ways. And in 1279, Mongols invaded with the aid of shamans skilled in overcoming magical resistance. In desperation, Yu Long of the Akashics turns to the Yama Kings, learning dark alchemy and using it to infect the invaders with a terrible plague. When he sacrificed his brothers to the disease, his betrayal was revealed, and the warring fists helped the Mongol shamans find a cure, driving Yu Long into exile. In gratitude to the Mongols, promoted Vajrayana Buddhism and allowed the ascetics more freedoms than the Wulong or the Dao Loshi. So basically, Mongols invaded. They were going against them. One of the people, went plague route, and they were like, "Hey, no, that's bad," and his actions actually drove them to have a peace with each other. All right. Still, though, we have many of these refugees. Many took refuge in Japan after being persecuted by the elemental dragons and the Wulong, using the first Buddhist missions. Some Vajrapani families who traveled here would, in the future, turn from peasant militias to samurai caste. The Akashiana quickly grew accustomed to local idiosyncrasies, and they influenced Japanese culture and philosophies of nature, harmony, and simplicity. And the Vajrapani did the same with samurai ethics. Once the Mongols tried to invade in 1274, Japanese Vajrapani ascetics allied with the locals, unlike mainland Kanagara of the Brotherhood. A typhoon destroyed the Mongol fleet, and by 1281 the invaders were rejected, something that created a rift between Japanese and mainland ascetics that would be present for the Great Convocation, which Nichuba accompanied the mainland Brotherhood representatives. So basically, for now, we have a division between Japanese Akashics and mainland. Then there's the Screaming Ghost Purge. In 1356, the Daoloshi and Wulong employed new innovations like flying rockets and flying machines against the Akashic Brotherhood after being badly beaten. They retreated to Mongol and Tibetan mountains with the help of the Wukeng. This sparked over 100 years of secret warfare, but the Akashics would survive with the help of Red Turbans, who overthrew the Mongol rulers and brought the Ming Dynasty. When the first Ming Emperor took the throne in 1368, he was supported by Shiren aristocrats and Vajrapani guards. Vajrapani. I think I finally got that word. Vajrapani. I say it enough, I get it correctly. Whew. Finally, we have a little bit more, so let's keep talking about it. I'm going to switch our image here to the Renaissance image here to finish out, even though we're going to go beyond the Renaissance here. Here's our Renaissance Akashic Brotherhood symbol from 1466. The Grand Convocation and the Council of Nine. Now we've reached the Renaissance. This has been all the Akashic Brotherhood, all on their own, battling it out for centuries upon centuries, millennia, doing things in the East Asia entire region. Not like they didn't spread some of their influence, but they're pretty much still here. So when the Western traditions came to China, it appears as though the Akashic Brotherhood was all-powerful, much to the annoyance of the Wulong. The Akashics were the first invited to the Grand Convocation. Tsar and William of Groth of Balderwald approached the Akashics in the Great Convention of what would be the Council of Nine. Wu Jin Chengsa of the Lehigh, battering ram of the Vajrapani, Darumba of the Kanagara, and Nichiba of the Jinai were representatives that would travel to the west for such an endeavor. The Shiren were not representative because some of them were frightened by the Screaming Ghost Purge and left the Brotherhood to the Daoloshi, but were absorbed by them and deprived of any bureaucratic power by the Wulong, who controlled the corrupt bureaucracy of the Ming. It was during this age the Akashics began to recruit non-Asians to their rank, with their famous example of the three mages of the Order of Hermes of Verbana, who accepted into ascetic tutelage and became Gladius Argentum of the Lehigh. The faction began to recruit members from the West, especially from Spain and Western Africa. So this is the first time the Akashic Brotherhood has spread outside of, well, Asia. During the convention, it became known finally that the Akashic Brotherhood, who hold the seat of mind, they befriended dream speakers, classed with the Hermetics, in this lecture course about magic theory, and tried to avoid the Euthanatoi. Remember? With the latter, during these times, they were unable to avoid conflict again, as the Long Red Night incident happened in 1438. After the cooperation of the Daoloshi in the Silk Road turned into 2 years of battle in Mongolia and Burma due to two mages who were enemies in a previous life. It is said that actually both traditions left their respective groups alone and tried to make members to defect, ultimately being assassinated in cooperation with both traditions to stop the conflict. Oddly, no one is able to check the veracity, as no one is able to access it through the Akashic record. So a lot of this was sealed away, basically. Something was going to happen, sealed away. In 1466, the resolutions of intent that formed the Council of Nine Mystic Traditions were passed in Horizon Council chambers, making the Council of Nine official, and generic titles and ranks were standardized. In the same year, the Council passed Compact of Callus, which encouraged intertraditional cabals. To celebrate the... So this is an important part about here, which leads us into modern Mage, and we'll probably hit this history up when we talk about some of the other Council of Nine Mystic Traditions, but this is the point in time where we do have intertradition cabals that form, which is, hey, a group of players. To celebrate, the council appointed 9 representatives as emissaries, enforcers, and comrades to stand as a testament of solidarity with the council and the future will. The first cabal began from Horizons, the March of the 9, traveling the world, spreading many legends and deeds. The Akashic representative of this group would be young Fall Breeze. The Great Betrayal. In 1470, the Great Betrayal befell them when the first leader of the cabal, when the leaders of the first cabal, Helen Teomin Bani Solfakadi, betrayed the first cabal to Rivellon de Corbie, who assembled an army, the Iron Hounds, and the Legion de Triomphe to meet them at Narbonne. Fall Breeze, Daoud Allah Abu Hisham Ibn Bukal al-Baghdadi, Cygnus Moro, and Louis du Monte died. Fall Breeze forgave Helen as she understood the true motives behind his actions. So that's an important thing to note there. Alright, now we reach the Age of Reason. In 1644, weak, corrupted insular Ming government fell to the Manchurians and Wu Lung troops. Once the Qin dynasty, King, how's this pronounced? I'm gonna actually look this up. Qing. Oh, it's Qing. Qing. Okay, sorry. I just want to make sure, like that one. That one was getting me. I'll try to do that in convocation. Qing dynasty rose. The dragon wizards had taken their vengeance on the ascetics, accompanying the Qing invasion of Tibet to destroy some of the ascetics' old strongholds. The Akashics were isolated into the Shaolin temples, and some Varjapani wanted to strike back, but the Kangara advised them against it. The Shen betrayed the Akashics, then the Wan Kui destroyed their sentries, and the Ghost showed the Wu Long their defenses. The result was a slaughter, with the enlightened vampiric Buddhivastas rightly accusing the Akashics of tainting a monastery of peace into a stronghold against Qing dominance. Subjarnapani fled with their Japanese brothers, and the Ryukyu Islands, others stood in China. At the end, the Daolo Loshi betrayed the Wu Lung for the Westerners, and that prevented the colonists and Western powers to establish their own advanced parties in China. They hid the realities of colonial trade from the Qing court, and instead of expected tribute, the Qing received gunfire and opium. During the Boxer Rebellion, the Wu Lung and Akashics agreed to a rough truce in the face of a common enemy. When British guns were bad enough, the Daolo Loshi reorganized into 5 metal dragons, bringing the might of global technocracy into the midst. In Japan, the metal dragons brought guns and revolution after Commodore Perry's expedition, and colonialism tightened the technocracy's hold. Let's skip to the modern age, because that's where we next have a lot of information here where we're going to go to, and then the post-reckoning. And we're about done history here. Oh, God. Oh, here, we got another symbol. I missed this one. We'll switch symbols again. Cool. Okay. Let's talk about the modern age. Okay. Times changed. The Akashic Brotherhood began to battle their own battle against the technocracy. And after Boxer Rebellion, they perfectly knew what their enemy represented, and they modernized their own methodologies. Even more than before, they began accepting apprentices from non-Asian countries. Terms like Orange Road or Scale the Dragon were made as an attempt to make understandable their concepts to other traditions, and the Golden Dragon claimed a place in Doistepi, the most famous stronghold of the traditions. They basically were like, we're going to dumb down some of our stuff to try to get you in here and then kind of teach you the harder things. There you go. World War II pitted the Akashics against each other, Pacifics against militants, Chinese against Japanese, until Hiroshima and Nagasaki showed them that their own their own pettiness. It was also a way to understand not only how far the technocracy had come, but how far they were willing to go. as the communists in China represented not only old ways, but also the technocracy's favorites. War with the communists in China, Vietnam, and Cambodia allowed them to test new technologies, even when they did nothing to assist either side. Meanwhile, the Akashic side, the Shiren financed movies, books about Eastern spirituality. The Lehigh interpreted their teachings to help all people in need, whoever they were. Even so, some Akashics thought the changes were too much, so after the 80s, such innovations were halted. In 1998, during the War in Heaven, the Primi of the Akashic Brotherhood, Master Hayamyon Sunim, was killed during the destruction of Concordia. 1 year later, in 1999, during the Week of Nightmares, had millions of people who shared views of the Akashics and Thanatoi die. So the Vajrapani and some elements of the Thanatopics urged for a suicidal revenge to the point of the leaders of both traditions stopped as they sensed a new Himalayan war building up between the mages, urging the other traditions to declare an end to the Ascension War. Basically, some shit was going down. A bunch of them died on both sides. You know, they were basically like murdered the crap out of each other. You know, a new war. You know, this called for like them. The leaders would be like, "Hey, no, don't do this." Post reckoning. Hey, Wulong were humbled by the events of the previous years to the point that they approached the Akashics. So Xian began an open dialogue with them. The Wulong offered a permanent alliance to the surprise of the Akashic Brotherhood, and they were integrated into the structures of the tradition, even if maintaining their own differentiations and methodologies. They had some tensions with the Kanagara, but due to not liking having monks leading them, but the viewpoints of the Shiren are very similar to them. So basically, this old group that they had been rivaled with, they'd battled with, they'd been friends with over time, finally joined them because, well, shit went down. It was 2001 when the truth of the Himalayan War was finally revealed, as a real objective behind the war was to create a strong Akashic Brotherhood, the union of the Thanatothic into the Charakavanti, and the creation of the Al-i-Batin in the Night of Fana. All this happened following the visions of a Thanatothic prophet about the coming of the Age of Iron and need for strong fellowships in the Council of Nine Traditions, and the guide of Bhatani to discover the truth of unity. For the sake of the Brotherhood's own unity, this truth was hidden to all by all means possibles, and Nu Ying, a veteran Ascension warrior and one of the last true Sifu remaining on Earth after the Avatar Sword, fought during all of his lives to maintain the truth concealed, even if it was need to cut down his own brothers who remembered about the war and refused to keep silent. In the New Horizons Council, that started with a gathering in Los Angeles the same year, Nu Ying was chosen as the Akashic representative. So, yeah. We have this, change in things. So the Akashic Brotherhood reaction to the Sphinx and the Rogue Council was cautious, even if some elders consulted various sources that seemed to point to minor prophetic passage, as mentioned the coming of new leadership traditions. The Akashics changed little after the coming of the Avatar Storm. Some of them decided to retire into solitude and continue spiritual advancements, but most of them continued doing what they always did, to help those that lost their path, sharing their wisdom in worlds of time of need. To the Council of Nine, the Brotherhood now embodies the balance between violence and peace, understanding and conflict, in which the traditions themselves remain embroiled. The Brotherhood roots are spiritual, so they cannot be slain with bullets, money, or laws. The Warring Fist used their incredible powers to battle the enemies of the traditions, while teachings preach the ascension of each individual's thought, righteous actions. As a modern renaissance of martial arts, Asian philosophy bends with 21st century culture and technology. The Brotherhood once sees itself once again at the heart of many common people everywhere. Alright, let's give some more information now. We've got the history, everything taken care of. We understand a little bit about what's going on with them. Let's dive a little, and we know the philosophy on the mage side of things. Now we really should talk about the philosophy on a different end, some of the culture around it. Because as much as, yes, I'm a mage, I cast magic, I do magical things, is a big part of the philosophy. It isn't the only thing. So, Once an Akashic enters the monastery life, they receive a new name. This name represents an element of the drama that they try to exemplify or flaw to overcome. That can be used as a quality to gain greater understanding. Vajrapani and Shiren prefer family names, and some of them give themselves new names to eliminate egotism within a tribute. These names are not given to strengthen the mystical self, but to disassociate the Akashic from a specific identity. So it's the idea that, I have this name now, it represents me, it's different than the name I had. Is more along the lines of, I am a different being from my past, now that I'm a part of here. We can't talk about this by talking about, religion. Because, honestly, there's a lot of religions and Eastern religions, doctrines and stuff out there which do link back to Akashics in a lot of ways. An Akashic member doesn't have to be a specific religion, but there are those that are. There are those that are Buddhists, follow other Eastern religions. There are others that follow other doctrines. They aren't censored by the Akashic Brotherhood. Basically, as long as it doesn't interfere with the overall mindset of it, you can follow whatever. And Buddhism is the most common, because it is really the most compatible with the Akashic's main paradigm, and shares many ideas like impermanence, subjectivity of karma, and middle way. Jainism is present in the India, Kanagara, aesthetics that rarely leave their own communities, with extreme views in poverty and chastity and reverence for their wisdoms. Most Chinese Akashics have Taoist beliefs, believing in the forces of yin and yang. The concepts of magic fits well with Taoism as a whole. Even devised as a political way of thinking, Confucianism got later added to the spiritual beliefs, like a duality of soul, Hun and Po, and with the exception of some Kanagari and Lihai, who follow Moza anti-Confucianism, most ascetics draw something from Confucianism. Shinto is pretty common with Japanese Akashics, with most of them using a syncret form of Shinto mixed with Buddhism, to equate the Buddha with the Kami. Christianity is not a religion that usually associates with Akashiana, but it has found its place thanks to a great abundance of non-Asian mages who joined the tradition in modern times, as well as the Nestorians who combined Buddhism and Christianity, and the Roda Daora, with some of them seeing the impertinence of the Holy Spirit and Jesus' teachings in Buddhist ones. Other religions like Hinduism, Sufi Islam, Bon, Mongolian, or Ryukyuan religions are common in their own areas of origin. So, again, because it is a very, in a way, spiritual belief, there is this definite heavy religious ties that occur very often. Keep that in mind. Okay. Let's talk about how they're organized in the event, because that's an important part of a great organization. Organization, and they are an organization. The structure of the Brotherhood is loose. Enlightenment and destiny are recognized as steps in the path, but all living things have virtue and value. For the Brotherhood, the idea of placing one thing or philosophy over another is a false division. Masters are respected for their insight. They do not exercise any real weight of authority. So that's an important part about the way that they have things. You are a master, you are important, you have authority, but you don't use that authority. They're simply credited for their insight. Akashic acolytes come from all walks of life, but all study the Akashic way of leading a pure, simple life for, and at least to some degree. As a brother progresses to a similar, more unhindered state of Do, at a greater Erte, his accomplishments are recorded, his teachings distributed, but also may benefit them. So they do have more hierarchy than master-student relationship, and it's not something focused on initiation of vows, as they do live in harmonizing themselves. Some rebellious is usually just ostracized unless they have members of the Lihai. So apprenticeship is very important. They're usually chosen from institutions with Akashic influences like monasteries, secret societies, yogi ashrams, in which Akashiana have many school teachings, watered-down versions of Do, and forms of other kung fu, jiu-jitsu, other martial arts, with the main objective of finding reincarnations of old brothers. So that's an entire thing. Because again, they believe in this reincarnation cycle. That's why in a lot of these places, they are teaching a basic watered-down do as part of other martial arts in order to find the brothers and bring them back into the fold. These apprentices, or Sidai, are told the true nature of the Akashic Brotherhood and selected for special training. They receive their new names and learning about the Brotherhood's traditions and history. When they enter the sect, they feel more content, though this part of the community is not only an ideal, and the apprentice first teacher usually exerts an influence in the chosen sect. Training can last from months to years. Every master only takes one apprentice, as Akashic way of teaching is too intensive to be done any other way. Some attractions to be wandering warriors and scholars called Ryugakusei, exchange students, or Shugyasho, the student warriors serving in multi-traditional cabals or spies. As mages skilled enough to be considered masters are scarce, the master roles usually carried out by adepts. Those who should be good at Kao-Shi, someone who's attained the 4th level of the Do's limbs, or end of a moral character. The Shing are also the ones responsible for day-to-day business of the Chantry, the Badihi Mandala. And then we have masters, and again, it does still, as a tradition, discourage ranking based on power. It does need a minimum of magical prowess to guide others to enlightenment. A Sifu, or master, is only recognized after a new opening in the Kanagara appears due to death or retirement. A Badi Mandala usually only has one Sifu of each sect, and the predecessor designates the successor ahead of time. When it's not possible, the Bodhi Mandala decides a new leader. If there are various candidates, tests are devised, and contact the Sangha for confirmation. Those known as Singun are the grandfather sages. They are the other traditional archmages, mages who are said to be living incarnation of dharmas and watch over the Brotherhood from afar. They're quite paradoxical, as they are revered for their knowledge. They're quite paradoxical, even if they are revered for their knowledge. Brothers usually understand that they will never reach Samadhi. Then you have the Bodhisattvas, with the Wankai defiling the term, the Wankui. The Akashiana say that they know who the true Bodhisattvas are. Some brothers decide to reject Samadhi out of comparison to the living and suffering, becoming a manifestation of enlightenment, lead the Brotherhood's to Ascension. As they forsake ultimate ascension, Bodhisattvas are venerated members of the tradition, even to the point of equating the to Buddhas or eight immortals of Taoism. So there's kind of your sort of ranking-ish system within their systems. It exists, in a way. Alright. Now, one last thing that's going to take us a little while to do is the sects and factions, because we've talked about a bunch of them. We've talked about, and this is a rage card of Akashic Brotherhood. So, there's a lot of stereotypes to the Akashic Brotherhood, but it is a diverse and extensive tradition, with some of the misconceptions about the members, the size of the organization in the past due to the Vajrapani and Kangara being the more visible faces of the traditional ranks, with many Akashics getting uninvolved with the Ascension War, fought primarily in the West. So this is the kind of thing is we have two groups that are the most visible, they stand out, there's a lot of other ones. You know, they're the ones that people know when they talk about them. At least in a way it was done there in the West, the Ascension War, as a good number of Akashiana prefer the more subtle, shadowy way to tackle it. Recent developments have showed the Western traditions the true size of the Brotherhood, and only reason why their numbers are still relatively small compared to the humongous pool of sleepers to draw upon new members is a rigorous discipline needed to be a member. So basically, a reason that, yes, their size is still, you know, seemingly small. Oh, but you got a lot of people there. Shouldn't you have a lot of people? Well, it's a very disciplined order. It could be said that the Akashiana are a counterpart to Order of Hermes as far as the East is concerned, both being a really diverse gathering of diverse groups under a shared belief, but the brothers' cohesion is fundamental to the very origins of the tradition, the legend of Meru. Between the sects, there is a difference between the birth groups, or Jati, but basically they trace their history back to the village. The Kanagara, Janai, Garpanji, and the schools or Pai sects like the Shiren, Lai Hai, or the Wolong were all accepted the Brotherhood at a late time. The Jati have their own independent relationship with each other, as do the other than that of the Pai do not. And the Brother does not usually change her Jati, as the familiar bonds they feel with it are very strong. Inside each sect, factions develop based on nationality, other cultural motives. But even so, all members of tradition see themselves as part of a unified brotherhood, not a collection of disjointed cults. So it's sort of like, we are all different in the way that we see things in a way, but we are all part of the brotherhood. A very unified things. The Stone Sutra says, ascetics who gave themselves over to Akasha are above rulers. So in theory, the Kanagara are the ones who lead the tradition in ways to avoid the Akashayana from straying from their own principles. But they're often accused of being oblivious to the reality of the new century, a view usually shared with the Shiren and some Vajrapani. The Luwang share the same opinion as the Shiren, and the Lehigh are content to oppose the monks, even if it would oppose the Shiren's leadership even more vehemently. So the only ones absolutely loyal to the Ganagara are the Janai, as both have symbiotic relationship as the hermit and the ascetic. Leadership is one of the paradoxes that the Brotherhood faces, as even the Kanagara oppose modernization to resent their guidance, could only mean to destroy the moral and spirit foundation of the traditional whole traditions. As traditional Jati and Pai system is considered a little bit lax, some cabal based on different curiosities like culture, spirituality, and functions. With some restrictions like the Kai Zankai, an ascetic can belong to various groups and change them based on their preference. Okay. Let's talk about each of their subsects within those. Let's start with the Janai. They're the wandering mystics, hermits, shamans. They hope to reconcile themselves with the avatar, which they call the Buddha mind, through the practice of yogas, tantra, alchemy, meditation, spiritual quests. They believe all things are ultimately one and any separation between them is an illusion. They travel throughout Asia. They absorb myriad beliefs from Shinto, Tibetan Bon rites. Their magics can be quite diverse. Many perform exorcism and divination to protect people in rural folk cultures from the spirit world. Rumors also claim that their faction tends secret monasteries and libraries in realms like Hollow Earth. Their specialty sphere is spirit, so mind and spirit here. Subgroups within them are the Chab Nagpa. The Blackwater sect combines Tibetan spirituality with Vajrayana rites. Some are lamas who have taken strict monastic vows, or yogis, lay teachers who perform practical rites such as weather divination, exorcism, spirit possession, and bindings are common amongst these Janai. The Chab Nagpa keep the Brotherhood's oldest and darkest secrets, including stolen lore from the Athanatoi during the Himalayan Wars. They tend to stay in their Tibetan monasteries, which said that a physical transcription of the ascetic records can be found in their cellars, along with other things. Another group is the Li Shen. The vagabonds do not exist. That is, according to traditional policy, they're just a paranoid rumor that the Brotherhood enemies cultivate. The legend attributes the Li Shen are similar to those of fabled ninja. The truth is, Li Shen do not exist as a sect. A vagabond is independent, trained from a secret manual known as the Forest Classic, which describes the spells, skills, and justifications for these shadowy methods, who wage a shadow war on their enemies. So they're not really a group. They are Janai, but they're also like a smaller group within them that are individuals more. It's kind of interesting. The Wushan are the Taoist mystics who practice internal alchemy. They learn appropriate catalogs of spirits and the properties and rites needed to summon, placate, and bind them. They use Do to balance their physical energies and cultivate a sense of serenity and resonance in the physical world. And then the Yamabushi are the Japanese ascetics who blend Shinto animism with Buddhist esoterics. They live in the wilderness of Japan, predominantly in wide mountain ranges. They occasionally come down to the sleeper world to perform cures or exorcism as needed. While in their mountain zones, they practice superhuman feats to focus their minds and practice Do as one of the elements. Alright, next up is, of course, the Kanagara. Tracing their origins to Mount Meru itself, while some of the others don't trace it the same kind of way. You know, the Kanagara are ascetic monks who uphold many of the Brotherhood's oldest practices. All Akashics practice difficult ordeals and purification rites, but the Kanagara believe the right mind and right soul can only come through the right action. Many practices blend Buddhism, Taoism, and core Akashic principles. The Kanagara prefer to remain aloof from sleeper affairs. The faction maintains several important monasteries which guide the Akashic Brotherhood as a whole. Here they renounce materials and for favor of prayers, hardships, and devotions. Their numbers have dwindled over the years, and Akashics sometimes join them after tiring of conflict. So though their numbers are dwindling, there are those that tire of the conflict of the world and join them. And they have 3 subgroups. The Jina, also known as the Jain brothers, are the most extreme ascetics in the Kanagara. They renounce all material possessions, practice an ethic of strict nonviolence, do not travel or involve themselves in worldly affairs. These pacifists are even careful not to slay small animals or microscopic life. Karma Chakra are scholars of the Great Wheel. They maintains the oldest tradition of the Akashiyana. They tend all histories of the brothers, including aesthetic records. They're linguists and historians that act as the final arbiters of traditional policy. Its members are often invited based on their avatar's past incarnations associations with the Karma Chakra. This provides continuity but breeds poor perspective. So basically, if you're a Karma Chakra and you reincarnate, they're going to find you and want you to be a Karma Chakra again, but then they don't really develop very well. And the Shaolin are the best known sect within the Kanagara, but not the whole tradition. So the Shaolin use acrobatic style of Do with Zen Buddhism as focus. They no longer inhabit the great monastery in China, but still thrive throughout Asia and a few places in the West. Their level of asceticism varies from monastery to monastery. Okay. We have the Lehigh as a large group here. Now, so we're going back to, the larger groups other than subgroups. So we've so far have the Janai, the Kanagahara, the Lehigh. I'm going to mention the other ones just to, we've talked about them. So they adhere to Motsu's philosophy of universal love and utilitarian morality. They value pragmatism over metaphysics. They believe in ancient traditions enforce a false sense of morality in which law tends to lead to harmful actions. Instead, they seek to abolish old traditions in favor of rational thought. They seek to accept new ideas to bring the Brotherhood to the modern world. They still practice Do. Their style draws on Western scientific approaches to health, morality, personal alignment. As such, they embrace a number of divergent schools and groups. Like folk heroes of legend, they oppose tyranny and promote justice. The 3 subgroups to talk about for them are the Blueskins, a synthesis of Tibetan mysticism and Mohistic doctrine. Their name derives from a legend of blue-skinned deities who point the way to alignment. They believe in crazy wisdom and hold that even intense sinful emotions like vanity and lust can point the way to ascension. In their view, fashion exists to discipline the body with the mind, and pleasure is a living mantra to aid in concentration. So the Motsu Fa is the second group here, the oldest school of thought in Lehigh. The Motsu Fa carry the tradition of folk heroism and universal love. Members vow to use any means necessary to promote equal love. Anarchists, philosophers, and vigilantes worldwide assist people living in poverty, violence, and disaster. They also view the spirit world in an animistic way, believing that spirits are not separated into offices, but also must be placated with sacrifice and offerings of friendship and love. And the final group is the Roda de Oro, specializing on non-Asian traditions. This sect translates the Circle of Gold, was established soon after the Grand Convocation. It was originally designed for the religions of Spanish and Portuguese conquistadors settled. The sect's framework of physical discipline is open to any mage whose beliefs and methods fit only here. Now another major group in the Akashic is the Shiren, the benevolent aristocracy. It's a politically active faction that desires greater Akashic influence in world affairs. They're drawn from legalist influences. Shiren's magic is very traditional, often involves lengthy rituals, calligraphy. Subtle use of mind arts allow for social disciplines, influence in diplomacy, finance, and political struggles. All things have a place in the organized cosmology of Shiren. A strict meritocracy, most Shiren have pattern essences. While most modern Shiren do not believe a return to Imperial China is possible, They stretched teaching of Asian history and culture to preserve the roots of brotherhood. Their three sub-factions are the Giamlung. The Golden Dragons were established to crush the enemies of the Brotherhood. To that end, they formed secret societies across Asia, established a vast financial network, and even soiled their hands in criminal underworld. They took huge losses in the 1990s when they clashed with the Syndicate and other financial powers. The second one is the Hanfei Zhu Academy. This acts as the administrative arm of Shiren and the think tank for the whole Brotherhood. They accept all nationalities of school into the school of thought. It serves as a source of tutelage for the Brotherhood overall. The Academy encourages personal achievement through strict meritocracy. The Hanfei Zhu attracts students from all over the world through a variety of front companies. And the final one is the Kaizankai. This is the Japanese cabal of patriotic legalists who trace their ancestry to the 7th century imperial throne of the Emperor Shotoku. They moved into the feudality and become enmeshed in the politics of the country. They adopted to the economic power of Japan after the Meiji Restoration, scheming against the Zaibatsu. They only accept Japanese members. Okay, we got two more major factions, and each of them having a couple of sub-factions of their own. Another major faction I've talked about is the Vajrapani, named for the Diamond Thunderbolt of the Tibetan Buddhism. The Vajrapani are often stereotyped as young, hot-blooded warriors. They emphasize martial arts, exercise, hard physical labor. Originally, they served as protectors of the Brotherhood, using their prowess to repel bandits and armies alike. In modern times, they take the fight directly to technocracy. Older members sometimes tire of the conflict and retire to other factions. Extreme nationalism and family-oriented, many Vajrapani clans descended from one of the 48 original clans that made up the faction. Only recently have they begun to train and recruit non-Asians through martial arts schools. So, this is a group that, it's more recent that we're getting non-Asians into this one. The banner of the Ebon Dragon. In China, the banner is a secret society of Vajrapani clans that guards its fellow Akashiana and teaches kung fu to anybody that's willing to learn. In America, the Heilong Athletic Society reaches out to students in almost every place a Chinese population is settled. Salusa is a secret school of Korean warriors and spies. Theirs is the most complex of the Vajrapani arts, and have heavily been influenced by the Kangara and Jinan. They specialize in swordsmanship, learning a special dance that can hypnotize enemies and disguise violence in graceful steps. They combine martial prowess with the art of invisibility and mind control. Unlike other schools, the Sulsa are made up of awakened warriors alone. So many other schools will have other non-awakened warriors in them who just learn the kind of basic arts. This one is only awakened. Tenshi Arashi Ryu is the Japanese fellowship expressing drama through Shinto and Tendai Buddhism. Swordsmanship, mounted combat, weaponless defenses, archery are expressions of Do to the school. They established schools around the world. And then, of course, we have the more recent group to join, which I could kind of go a little bit more into depths about them, but I would recommend if you want to learn about them, I'm just going to kind of go over the basics here, because I might do a video on their own, because they were technically an independent faction until recently, but we'll save that for later. Just because if you use a more time period for, playing, and you want to play a Wulong, you would be independent. It's, again, only in the 2000s have they joined the Akashic Brotherhood. So the Wulong are descended from nobility. The Dragon Wizards have served Chinese emperors and advisors and as advisors and sorcerers for over 4,000 years. Through heavily regimented rituals, they commune with ghosts of ancestors and heavenly spirits alike. They use their influence to crush rival factions like the Akashics of Wu Ken. The Wulong remained aloof of barbarian Western mages until technocracy conquered China. Based out of Hong Kong, the modern Wulong reorganized after the Reckoning. After consulting the I Ching, the new emperor Bei Beshi chose to join the Akashic Brotherhood to preserve the shared magical heritage of ancient China. The Wulong do not practice Do, preferring their own style of martial arts. So here we've got the unique one because they are a new one. And again, martial arts kind of link back to Do, and maybe they'll take a little bit more of it into them now that they're integrated, but it is a new world for them. They have a specialty sphere of spirit, where the other ones don't really have a specialty sphere. We noticed that the Janai did, and these also have sphere of special spheres. They have 3 schools of thought here: Dragon School, Tiger School, Phoenix School. Dragon School comprised of the judges and attendants of the gods who've mastered spirit. Service at the Dragon School is a great privilege, and its members take their duty to judge creation seriously, usually applying forces to make things run smoothly. The Tiger School consists of more practical-oriented mages focused on finding Tao in righteous activities. They specialize in forces and are masters of martial arts. They used to generate bravery that serves heaven, similar to the Do. And the Phoenix School is solely comprised of female members, and it's usually treated as if it does not exist in by higher-ranking mages. Masters of Art of Life, followers of the Phoenix School focus on rewarding righteous behavior among mortals, rather than judging it like the dragons or punishing it like the tigers. Alright, and just for a little end of note, a lot of stuff here changes. The Akashic Brotherhood, when we talk about it, I definitely recommend, when we talk about the tradition book, it's not the best thing in a lot of ways. The revised tradition book of the Akashic Brotherhood, which I think is the one I showed. Yes. The first edition book I didn't show here. Why? Well, it was a collection of badly researched concepts, racial stereotypes, badly implemented rulings that made it considered one of the worst supplements White Wolf had ever released. So if we're talking first edition Akashic Brotherhood, it's bad. Don't look to that. Second edition is where we're getting this understanding of things, and even revised, Second edition, they're gradually improving it, and in revised, the tradition book Akashic Brotherhood that I showed off was pretty good take on it through some research, actual knowledge of concepts representing the group, and good rulings about Do. So, the book there, it's not bad. But, again, I'm talking about the book I showed off, which was pop back to that picture. Actually, this one here. This is the book you want to check out. Do not go for the other Akashic Brotherhood book, because, again, it's just bad. And that's just a note here at the end here, if you're going to do the more research. I did want to say this here, because this is a difference between it, and, this is technically the revised era. And, we are getting better at this. They are improving the way they show things. They have some research. They know more. This is the early 2000s instead of the original one, which was, back in 94. We've had 7 years to learn from our mistakes. And yes, even better modern takes, even though they don't have as deep a dive, is the M20 book that we showed. But, there's the Akashic Brotherhood. They're really interesting and neat, and I like them a lot, and I like the variety of them. They have a cool sense to them. They're very neat, but the thing is, it's sort of like, I have to confess here, as a person that has grown up in a Western culture, where I've only been slightly experienced Eastern culture, I can't understand as many of the traditions as heavily as someone that has that cultural connection. And yes, you can dive into it and learn a lot more. And as I said, it's easily shown that when we took a look at the Akashic Brotherhood books, first one knew jack diddly. The first one would have been like me attempting to write something when I do no research, know just a little bit from popular culture. But diving into research and finding out stuff, you begin to understand a lot of these ways in the culture here. And this is a reflection of a lot of that culture and a lot of those beliefs. As it shows, even though this is a fictional thing, a fictional kind of belief system, it's a fictional system that starts from a point and learns from real-world traditions. Buddhism, Taoism, Shintoism, Confucianism, a lot of those other kind of mindsets throughout Eastern Asia have become an important part of what the Akashic Brotherhood are. And there are this different group of, idealisms that all have this kind of core concepts and belief, but all believe themselves part of the Brotherhood. They might disagree vastly on the way things should be handled, but they all believe themselves part of this united group, which is a really interesting idea to them. They are still all united in this belief, and it can show that they can grow and evolve and develop in very interesting ways. Some of them are more traditional, others not. Their history is one where violence, unfortunately, has been a huge part about it, even though they wish for peace and try their best for it. And many of them do end up in that situation where they separate themselves up from the battles. But there are those that know that battles must be won, wars must be waged, reality must be fought, and still go into those battles. It's this juxtaposition between peace and war, harmony and disharmony, things that they try to balance. Remember, mastering mind, body, and spirit, and then those existence, your existence in the greater universe. Harmonizing, seeking a enlightenment. The Akashic Brotherhood is a very interesting group that I think has such rich history, such rich information about them, that they definitely are to be respected amongst the Council of Nine Mystic Traditions. And we will talk about more of those traditions in the future, and I hope that you get a good sense of all of them and their interests in the way that they work. Not to say that I can't give good things about some of the other traditions. I will. But, there's just something about this group here that, is just so interesting. Anyway, thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed learning about them and diving deep into the Akashic Brotherhood. It's a long one. There's a lot to be there, and I'm not sure how long all the tradition talks will be. We'll see. And we'll talk about other subdivisions and other groups, too, like the traditions within the technocracy and things like that, too, before we finish up. But if you want to join for more World of Darkness stuff, you can always join me live on Twitch. I usually stream this around 11 on Saturdays, a very exact time, because I have a life schedule. If you're watching this live, there's a big break in the middle because of life schedule stuff. It's not going to exist on the YouTube side, so be thankful you lost that. Cut that entire thing out. I also do tabletop stuff on Tuesdays, Thursdays, around 1 to 2 in the afternoon, depending on life schedule, when I can start, sometimes earlier, sometimes later. Thursdays is the Pathfinder Day, Olirant Day. Tuesdays are variety day. Other tabletop stuff, Wednesdays, 9 p.m., Crimson Queen. Currently, it's my live play, Pathfinder First Edition. Recommend it, really fun. I'm discussing tabletop Saturdays at 6 p.m. You can check that out later on today. I do other gaming streams Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, but you probably not care as much about them. I didn't shout out supports. Hey, if you've been watching this on Twitch, hey, follow me this. Or, on YouTube, subscription, ring a bell, leaving a like, that comment, if I asked about the Akashic Brotherhood, if you played one, or had a game with one, and those are those questions. Or if you're on one or the other, check out the other side. If you're joining me on YouTube, you give me that follow on Twitch so you can join me live. Or if you're following me on Twitch, hey, check out my YouTube side. Check it out. I have social media. It's mostly going live and cat pics most of the time nowadays for new kittens in the household that I keep taking pictures of. But it's Discord and Twitter.com. And hey, that's about it for today. I hope you enjoyed everything. I'm going to get running because I want to go get lunch, get some food, enjoy myself, relax after a busy day. And, there will be more to talk about. More the World of Darkness, more Mage The Ascension. Until that next time we chat about this, I bid all of you out there a wonderful and beautiful day. Alright, Twitch, just you and me now. I'm going to run. This was long, with the interruption and stuff. I want to go get some food, and then I have to also finish uploading the Androids of Galarian video, and take care of a couple things before I go out, and then I can actually do stuff to set up discussing tabletop. It's a busy, messy day. Hey, Saturdays always are. Tomorrow's going to be nicer, but I've got a bunch of stuff on the agenda already. Busy Sunday, apparently, too, without planning it. Alright, everybody. farewell to you out there. See you later. See you later on tonight, 6 p.m. Join us. Discuss table. Bye. Let me stop. OBS, please.